restoration, and I'll just turn it over to Justin.
Welcome, everybody. So good afternoon. Today it makes me really, really happy to be able to recognize 15 individuals for their service to their country. As you guys know, Woodard is not only, core to Woodard is service, and we're founded on the values of service. And so it gives me, great pride to be able to recognize people for service outside of our company. So I'd like to kind of read off the names and recognize the people. So from the Air Force, we have Dave Kristoff and Jim Phelps. I'm pretty sure Dave's at deer camp. He would love to be here, and I'm sure he's having fun. Then we've got several people from the Army. Steve Fugner, Ron Eads, Bryce Button, and Tony Davis. Thank you. We also have, I think he's still trying to get here, but from the Bosnian Army, we have Raif. And so we've got people actually that have been serving more countries than only the one that we're in right now. From the Marine Corps, we have Josh Reibold, Mike Roth, and Will Smith. From the National Guard, Tim McDuffie. Cool side note, Tim McDuffie, we got an invitation in the mail yesterday, and Tim McDuffie is going to be taking over command of his unit from a training perspective in a couple of weeks. So congratulations again. And finally, with the Navy, I don't know this was alphabetical, I'm pretty sure. So if we've messed up, we didn't mean to put Air Force first because we think that they should be first. From the Navy, though, we have Brian Kropp, Dan Moss, Robert Winton, and Dick Phelps, who is joining us. So today, again, thank you all for serving your country. Thank you for the time and the talent that you have sacrificed. And then finally, thank you also, they're not here, but please, when you see them, please thank your families. My family, we aren't, my immediate family doesn't have any experience with serving in the military. And so I don't personally know of the stress or the sacrifice that the families would go through, but I imagine that it can be very hard at times. And so for your families, your loved ones, your friends, for the kind of the stress that they have gone through for your service and what you have sacrificed, I really appreciate you extend my thanks to them as well. Before we kind of cut that big cake, I'd like to tell you a little story to kind of illustrate for the folks that haven't heard the story before, but then kind of reiterate for those that have, why I know that Woodard was founded on the values of service. So I told you my immediate family doesn't have a military background. However, my grandpa served in World War II. And near the end of World War II, he was actually flying lead navigator on a milk run to Nancy, France. And so a couple things there. One that's important for people to know, lead navigator in bombing is the lead plane in a series of planes that is in a series of planes, right? So you can imagine a bomber, right? And then you can imagine a group of them and then a group of groups. And the lead navigator, from what I understand in the Air Corps, is the front plane. It is that navigator's responsibility to get them to the target. They're all following them. And if you can imagine back in World War II, there is no radar, right? They don't have GPS coordinates. They are literally following manual instruments to find where they need to go. So on this particular day, Grandpa was awoken at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning with the knowledge from his commander that he was flying lead navigator. And it was good because it was a milk run. So the first time as lead navigator, but a milk run, as many of you probably know, no problem. Not expecting to have any enemy at the target. This day was incredibly overcast, so the whole entire mission over from Britain into France was overcast. So again, no modern instruments, right? He's using manual instruments and visual navigation. And so when they get to where that destination is, they can't actually drop their bombs because they can't see their target. In that time, if you can't see your target, you really can't drop your bombs. And so they are now in the process of turning the entire air group around to go home when they encounter significant enemy flak. Totally unexpected, and very quickly, 2 of the 4 engines in his aircraft are destroyed. So his airplane's going down, and the captain orders everybody to abandon the aircraft. Everybody makes it out safely. They parachute into Nazi-occupied France, and what ends up happening is half the crew is captured by the Nazis, and then half is rescued by the French underground resistance. And Grandpa was one of those people. So he then spent the next 6 weeks with the French resistance as they smuggled him through the towns in France all the way to the southern border with Spain, where he literally walked across the border through the Pyrenees Mountains into Spain and was picked up by the Spanish authorities, at which time he spent some time with the Spanish authorities, but ultimately came back home to the United States, literally getting back to his life. Once he made it back to Washington, D.C., he went through the discharge process, and he is now on a train from D.C. back to St. Louis. He's on his way back home to Farmington, where he grew up. On that train ride, it's a multi-day train ride, and you eat on the train, right? And so he's in the dining car. It's like a restaurant. You're waiting in line to get a table, and as he's waiting in line, he meets a nurse who is also traveling alone, and finds out her name is Nancy, and at that point realizes that they should probably have dinner together. And as you can imagine, in a story like this, 3 months later, they were engaged and getting married. Got married, they settled in St. Louis, but they were struggling with what to do. Now that they had gotten married, they were in St. Louis. Should they go back to D.C., where Grandma's family is from? Should they stay in St. Louis? Should they go back to Farmington, where Grandpa grew up? And ultimately, they decided to stay in St. Louis. And during that that decision-making process, one of the things they were trying to figure out is what should we do? They were really interested in starting their own business, and they explored a couple different ideas that ultimately settled on essentially door-to-door rug cleaning. Lots of people had big area rugs in their home at that time, and what you had to do previously was get all the furniture up, roll them up, bring them into a facility to get them clean, and their idea was some new equipment was available that you could put on a trailer, and you'd go into somebody's home, wouldn't have to move the furniture, wouldn't have to roll the rug, but you could clean around the furniture and get the rugs cleaned in the home, and it could be cheaper and easier and better experience for the customer. And so that's what they did. Since then, Grandma and Grandpa have had 6 kids, right? 13 grandkids, 10 going on 11. My sister is about to have a baby in about 3 weeks, so 11 great-grandchildren. And the legacy that they left behind is a company where over 200 people are helping thousands of St. Louisans every single day, or every single year. And so I tell you this story because over the years, Woodard, the people of Woodard have served St. Louis in a lot of different capacities. What we have done is we've changed over the years, right? We were cleaning rugs in the house, carpets, wall-to-wall carpets came in. After that sometime, we started cleaning carpets in houses, we cleaned furniture, we even cleaned draperies for a while. Many of you may not even realize that. Recently, recently, in the last 30 years, we have been cleaning up and rebuilding homes and businesses after floods and fires and other disasters, right? So what we have done has changed over time. Why we are doing it, why we get up in the middle of the night, why we sacrifice to go clean up really dirty things, hasn't changed. And the reason why has to do with Grandpa. The people of the French Resistance helped Grandpa get back to his life, and our business was founded and continues to this day to live on, and the reason that we exist, why we wake up, is to help people get back to their lives, just like the French people did for my grandpa. And so I tell you this story to illustrate the direct connection between my grandpa, the French People's Service, and tie a link directly through that time to where we are and when we are today. To the service that you guys have had for your country, to the service that you've had for your fellow employees, and the service that you have had for your families. So thank you all so much for all that you have done for your families and for us. We won't ever forget it. We will keep telling the story over and over and over again. Thanks a lot.